And that's why we're here this morning, isn't it? Because Jesus is victorious. And so now we're just going to think about what the empty tomb means for us. Well, it means that death has no hold over us anymore. Jesus has taken that sting of death away for us. It means that when our life is over, we can look forward to spending an eternity with our loving Creator God. But just as important is the life that we live now. We can now live resurrection lives. The empty tomb represents a big shout of protest to all that is death. The empty tomb is a defiant act against all that tries to suppress life. It calls us to defeat the influences of death in this world, just as Jesus did through his ministry. The empty tomb, for us, is the welcome we offer refugees who leave their home fleeing violence and standing against the far-right voice of hatred for others. The empty tomb is standing in love with LGBTQI brothers and sisters and against their persecution. The empty tomb is the force of climate change protesters trying to alert us to the climate catastrophe looming ahead of us, being arrested in the pursuit of life. The empty tomb is Edmund visiting India and taking medical and financial aid to people living in poverty and pain. And Den taking the word of God to people in Tanzania who are desperate to learn more about his love. The empty tomb is the ladies here at Nantcoch opening up the church for the community event and providing food and fellowship for some of the lonely people in the community. The empty tomb is us choosing to overcome temptation on a daily basis, to do the things we know we shouldn't, but knowing God's unconditional love and healing forgiveness when we fail. The empty tomb is us living resurrection lives that are life-affirming, persistent, angry, passionate, sacrificial. It means truth, life, and love. It means we can live our lives with life winning over death, with hope winning over despair, with light over darkness. We can all live these lives we've been gifted, with all of our limitations, as an act of radical resistance to death. I'm going to say that again. We can all live these lives that we've been gifted, no matter what our limitations, as an act of radical resistance to death in this world. Why? Because when Jesus left that tomb, he emerged in absolute victory and complete triumph. We're now going to hear a poem read by Megan, and it's called The Promise of the Empty Tomb.
The Promise of the Empty Tomb by Chloe Axford. The promise of the empty tomb rips the rug from under your feet and says, hold on tight, we're going for a ride into the deep unknown. The promise of the empty tomb says the story doesn't end the way you think it will. Yes, your future is set in stone, but I carved it, and it's beautiful. The promise of the empty tomb says you are worth so much more than you think you are. You are to die for, and I did. The promise of the empty tomb drives nails through darkness and says, trust me, I have a plan, and it is good. The promise of the empty tomb rolls back the stone, dances on death, and says, why are you crying? Don't you know me?
Thank you, Megan. The promise of the empty tomb changes absolutely everything. Our final song today is For This Purpose Christ Was Revealed, to destroy all the works of the evil one. Christ in us has overcome, so with gladness we sing and welcome his kingdom in.